Defense attorney Max Shard destroys D.A. Hilton upon cross-examining her witness.
Crime scene.
When requested per the zone supervisor or zone officer.
Are there certain types of crimes in which you usually get these calls for?
Yes. Homicide, robberies, aggravated assaults, just anything under the sun that they feel like, gang investigator needs to respond to.
Hang on just a second. If you hear an objection, if you don't mind waiting until I rule on it, and then if I sustain it, then
Yes,
we'll move on. If I overrule, you can answer, but hold on for just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Speculation, testified the motives of others.
I'm going to overrule that.
And if you could speak up for me a little and speak
Okay.
into the mic. Do you sometimes respond to shootings if there's a shooting at a home or multiple shots fired to a home?
Yes.
When you respond to a crime scene, what do you do as a part of your investigation?
We tend to interview victim witnesses, trying to find a gang connection, gang nexus within the crime.
And I know you said you work the day shift. Are there times with members of the gang unit are on an on-call in an on-call capacity?
Yes.
How does that work?
Typically after our shift, there's an on-call investigator that get called out by a supervisor or the zone per their request.
And does that on-call investigator work the overnight shift?
No.
So when you're on call, what would make the on-call detective get called out to the scene versus you, if you're on duty, getting called out to the scene?
We're typically on duty 1 o'clock, so we'll respond during our regular shift. The responsibility of an on-call investigator after hours, typically when they're off the clock, that they respond to the incident.
I want to take you back to March 16, 2022. Were you in the same position that you're currently in with the gang unit?
Yes.
And on that day, did you have the occasion to respond to 2830 Waters Road in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yes.
Let me ask, what was the weather that evening? Do you recall?
It was dark and it was raining.
And when you responded, do you remember about what time you responded to that location?
It was about 2:30 a.m.
And were you on duty or were you on call that evening?
I was on call that evening.
And I'm sorry, I said in the evening.
That morning.
That morning.
Yeah, that morning.
Why did you respond to that location?
Sergeant Suazo advised dispatch to reach out to the on-call gang investigator, which was me, and they called me, and I responded to the scene.
Did you respond with anyone else?
No.
Did any other gang unit investigators meet you at the location?
Yes.
Who was that?
Investigator Dabney.
Did anyone else respond to the scene with you and Investigator Dabney?
Yes.
Who was that?
Investigator Viverito.
At the time, back in March of 2022, where was Investigator Viverito working?
The Fulton County DA's office.
Once you arrived to the scene, tell the jurors what you found when you got to the scene.
2830 Waters Road. The house was shot up, multiple shell casings on the ground. Vehicles in the yard. A vehicle was parked directly in front of the house. That's about it. From the first walk up, that's my first observation of the house.
And when you made that first observation, what, if anything, did you do?
I spoke to Sergeant Suazo, and he briefed me on, what transpired before my arrival.
After receiving that information, what did you do?
I went inside to speak to one of the victims that was inside of the home.
Do you recall who you spoke with?
Cavante Battle.
And without saying what he said, was he able to provide you information?
Yes.
After speaking with Mr. Battle, what, if anything, did you do?
I went outside to speak to the individuals that was inside the vehicles.
And when you said they were inside of vehicles, what vehicles were they inside of?
Marked patrol car.
And to your knowledge, were these individuals detained or arrested, or neither?
Detained at the time.
When you were inside of, when you spoke with Mr. Battle, was that inside of the house?
Yes.
Did you notice any camera or surveillance systems inside of the house?
Yes.
Permission to post your I'm going to show you what's been marked as 163 VV. Tell me if you recognize this as 163 VV.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize it?
That was a TV on the wall with the surveillance cameras.
And does that appear to look like the TV on the wall with the surveillance cameras that you saw back on March 16, 2022?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit 163 VV into evidence.
163?
Yes.
All right, it's admitted.
Thank you. Permission to publish?
You may.
Now, at the time, is this the surveillance video that you looked at or that you saw inside of the home when you went inside?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not any of the surveillance videos were collected on that night on March 16, 2022?
No.
No, you don't know, or no, it wasn't collected?
Oh, no, it wasn't collected.
Now, you said that after you spoke with Mr. Battle, you went back outside and you spoke with some other individuals. Who did you speak with?
The next individual was Miles Farley.
And was Mr. Farley able to provide you any information about what had occurred?
No.
Did you speak with anyone else?
Yes.
Who else did you speak with?
Shannon Jackson.
Okay. And where was Mrs. Jackson when you spoke with him?
In the rear of a patrol vehicle as well.
Was he able to provide you any information about what occurred that evening?
No.
Okay. Was he able to provide you any information about any of the vehicles that you had saw inside at the home?
Yes.
What was he able to tell you?
He identified a white Audi as his.
Okay. And was he able to tell you were there multiple Audis outside?
Yes, it was a silver and a white one.
Okay. Was he able to tell you which one?
Yes, the white one.
All right. And did you ultimately take pictures of that Audi?
Yes. Yes.
Did you speak with anyone else?
Yes.
Do you recall who else you spoke with?
Demekion Garlington, Cortez Arnold, Craig White. But it was just basic demographics, names, and stuff like that. They weren't able to provide any information about the incident that occurred.
Okay. And with Mr. Garlington, where did you speak with him at?
Rear of a marked patrol vehicle.
Now, with Mr. Garlington, Mr. Farley, and Mr. Jackson, were they all in the same vehicle or different vehicles?
Separate.
Okay. And on March 16, 2022, did you take any pictures of those three individuals?
Yes.
And did you take pictures of the cars that were at the home?
Yes.
And did you take pictures of the white Audi that Mr. Jackson said that that was the car that he was using?
Yes.
I want to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 164 VV to 169 VV. Tell me if you recognize 164 VV to 169 VV.
Yes, I recognize.
How do you recognize 164 VV to 169 VV?
There were all the photos I taken.
And are those the photos you took on March 16, 2022?
Yes.
And do they appear to be fair and accurate depictions of the photos that you took on March 16, 2022?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit State's Exhibit 464 VV through 169 VV.
164 through 169?
VV.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, those are admitted.
Thank you. We're going to start with 166 VV. Looking at State's Exhibit 166 VV, who did you take a picture of?
Shannon Jackson.
And what is he wearing?
Pink hoodie with a pink skull cap.
And does the hoodie have any particular words on the front of the hoodie?
I see letters, but can't really make out what word.
We're going to try to zoom in for you.
INLY.
Okay.
Not really.
We're going to look at 167 VV.
Oh.
Who is in 167 VV?
Miles Farley.
And do you see an item inside of his left pocket?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever ask him what that was or take that item out of his pocket?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Okay. Looking at 168 VV. Who is in 168 VV?
Demekion Garlington.
All right. And now looking at 169 VV. Is that the area where some of the cars were that you, when you took the pictures on March 16, 2022?
Yes.
All right. And now looking at 164 VV and 165 VV. Now, is this the white Audi that Mr. Jackson said was his car?
Yes.
All right. Now, what is the tag number on that vehicle?
It's a Maryland tag 8ED7071.
I'm going to approach what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 118W. Do you see that same tag on State's Exhibit 118W?
Yes.
And have you seen an exhibit like this before?
Not this one though.
Not this one particular. Have you seen this? Do you know what the LPR readers are?
Yes.
Have you seen this as an LPR reader?
Oh, yes.
All right. What is the date and time of this last LPR read on State's Exhibit 118BV, page 1?
3/14/2022 at 4:31 p.m.
And also now looking at page 5 of State's Exhibit 118 VV, do you see an LPR read at 9:49:06 p.m.?
Yes.
And is it for that same tag number 8ED7071?
Yes.
We just, I'm sorry, can we clarify the date that we're talking about? We're talking about time.
Is that March 14th, 2022?
Yes, March 14, 2022 at 9:49 p.m.
And what was the location of that read?
Windsor Street Southwest, northbound, and Richardson Street Southwest.
Now I want to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 116 VV. And while we're waiting for that to pull up, after you spoke with each of those individuals, and you took the pictures, did you have any other involvement in what occurred on March 16, 2022?
No.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 116 VV with camera 3 at approximately 1 minute and 44 seconds. Do you see an individual in that video with the same clothing in which Mr. Jackson had on March 16th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And do you see the similar same pink hoodie?
Yes.
All right. And do you also see the same pink kind of skull cap as well?
Yes.
Now I want to show you same Exhibit 116 VV, but camera 14. And we're just going to play starting at 2:19. I want to pause. Did you see the individual that kind of spun around?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at when you when you went to 2830 Waters Road on March 16th, is that the same individual, Miles Farley, that we just saw in this video?
Yes.
Okay. And do you see the item that's on his head in that video?
Yes.
All right. Can you describe it?
Looks to be a burgundy skull cap.
And I'll just zoom in. Okay. And was that the same person you spoke to on March 16th, 2022?
Yes.
All right. Now I want to direct your attention to March 17th, 2022. Did you have the occasion to respond to an address on Meadowlark Lane in East Point, Georgia?
Yes.
And why did you respond to that location?
Undercover officers got behind the white Audi A5 with this Maryland tag 8E.
I'm going to object to A, hearsay, but also to the witness reading off the
Sustained.
Okay. Without reading off of the report, why did you respond to the location?
Undercover officers got behind a white Audi A5 with Mr. Jackson being the driver, leaving Chick-fil-A. He was a suspect of an incident that occurred the day before.
How do you?
You may.
Let me first ask you, when you responded to the incident at Waters Road on March 16th, was there anyone arrested at the Waters Road incident that you responded to?
No.
Okay. When you responded to the Waters Road incident, were the individuals there considered victims in that case on March 16, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said that you had gotten behind the white vehicle because Mr. Jackson was a suspect. You said in the day before. Was he a suspect in an incident that happened on March 14th, 2022, a homicide?
Oh, yes. March 14th, yes.
Okay. Once you, let me ask you this. Did you ever make it to the location in East Point, Georgia?
Yes.
Okay. What happened once you arrived at the location?
I walked to the rear where officers detained 2 individuals, and I picked up a skull cap and a backpack.
Where was the skull cap in the book bag when you recovered those items?
In the bushes directly behind the house.
And that house, was that a residential home?
Yes.
Once you recovered the book bag, did you look inside of the bag?
Yes.
What, if anything, was inside of the bag?
Narcotics.
Once you looked inside the book bag, what, if anything, did you do with the book bag and the narcotics inside of the book bag?
I held on to it until I was instructed to hand it over to another investigator.
What investigator?
Investigator Belknap.
And then did Investigator Belknap take control and custody of the book bag along with the narcotics?
Yes.
Permission to approach him?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked as 201 BV and 200 BV. Tell me if you recognize both 201 BV and you can look inside the contents. Before pulling it out, just look inside of 200 VV.
Yes, I recognize.
And first starting with 201 VV, how do you recognize 201 VV?
This is the backpack recovered in the bushes behind the house.
And is that the book bag that had the narcotics in it?
Yes.
All right. And now looking at 200 VV, how do you recognize 200 VV?
This was the hat recovered as well with the book bag. Skull cap, I mean.
And do they appear to be in the same or similar condition as when you found them back on March 17th, 2022?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to admit 200 VV and 201 VV into evidence.
No objection.
And that was the hat that you found outside.
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to pull back up 168 VV and next to State's Exhibit 116 VV at 217. Looking at State's Exhibit 116 VV, which is on your right-hand side, and 168 VV, which is on your left, do you see the item that's on Mr. Farley's head?
Yes.
Do you see a similar looking item in his pocket on the left-hand side?
Yes.
Court's indulgence for one moment.
May it please the court. Investigator Flores, good afternoon. My name is Max Shard. I represent Shannon Stillwell.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Seems like we got three different dates to talk about. March 14th,
14.
March 16th, and March 17th.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try to go from one to the other to stay organized here.
All right, I got you.
Let's start with the last one first, March 17th.
Okay.
Okay? That was the day that my client, Mr. Stillwell, you said Mr. Jackson, we're talking about the same person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That was the day he was arrested on warrants for the March 14th homicide, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you talked about, you talked about people were following or pursuing the car to this address that you responded to. Were you part of the pursuit?
No.
Okay. The car that was located on Meadowlark Drive, where Mr. Stillwell was arrested, was a white Audi, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The same white Audi that was present on March 16th,
Correct.
and the same white Audi that he is alleged to have used in a horrible crime on March 14th. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, you indicated that you found a book bag with drugs or narcotics in them, correct?
Correct.
And that was in some bushes at that Meadowlark Drive address, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Present at the address was Mr. Stillwell, but also another individual by name of Cormarvius Nichols, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see who had control of that book bag?
No.
Okay. Are you aware that, do you know what Atlanta Phoenix, APD Phoenix is?
Yes.
That's helicopters, correct?
Yeah.
That can follow pursuit.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware if APD Phoenix, let me ask you this, do they record from the air?
Yes.
Are you aware if APD Phoenix caught on video who discarded the book bag full of narcotics into the bushes?
Yes.
Okay. Was it Mr. Stillwell?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Your understanding is that Mr. Nichols was also in the Audi on the way to that Meadowlark Drive address, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it would certainly be illegal for Mr. Nichols or Mr. Stillwell, for that matter, to be in possession of narcotics in a book bag, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was Mr. Stillwell charged with those narcotics?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. I'd like to move back to the first date, March 14th, 2022. You were present at the scene on Windsor Street that night, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You were called to the scene. Who called you to the scene?
Dispatch.
Okay. What time did you arrive at the scene?
Oof. I don't remember.
Okay. Did you write any reports regarding your work on the night of March 14th, 2022?
I believe it was an internal memo with no report.
Okay. Now, when you arrived, there was a deceased gentleman in a red Versa, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You did not recognize the deceased when you arrived, did you?
No.
Okay. You were a gang investigator for APD since 2020, correct?
Correct.
Your focus is on the gangs of Atlanta, the members within those gangs, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you did not recognize Mr. Shamal Drinks.
Correct.
Okay, in fact, later on in that night, law enforcement had to use a GBI scanner to use his fingerprints to determine his identity, correct?
No, I believe his ID was on scene.
Okay. Okay. Either way, you did not recognize it.
No.
Okay. Now, the state just had you compare some photos of Mr. Stillwell and also of Mr. Miles Farley, correct? Remember that? Side by sides?
Yeah.
Okay, you recognize the left part of those side by sides as being from the BP surveillance from March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that was the night of the Shamal Drinks homicide.
Correct.
Okay. On that surveillance, you identified, I think just now, Mr. Stillwell wearing a hoodie and a pink hat, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's move to to March 16th of 2022. Okay. You respond to 2830 Waters Road, correct?
Correct.
All right, and let's just be clear. You responded and located Mr. Stillwell. I don't know if you located him, but Mr. Stillwell was at the residence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you and other law enforcement strictly viewed him as a victim for March 16th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The incident involved someone shooting at that house repeatedly.
Correct.
Okay. And by the time you arrived, Mr. Stillwell was in the back of a police car.
Correct.
Okay. Wearing the exact same clothes from the BP video, or at least the exact same hoodie and distinctive pink hat.
Correct.
Okay. When you arrived, you sought to speak to Mr. Stillwell. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. He was not under arrest.
No.
He was detained as a victim.
Correct.
Okay. He was not legally obligated to answer your questions.
Correct.
Okay. And you asked him questions about March 16th. What had happened?
Correct.
Okay. And you said he didn't provide any information, but in fact, he said he was present and people shot at the house. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. But importantly, you asked him what car he was driving, correct?
Not he was driving. I asked him what car was his.
Okay, you asked him what car was his. And this is 2 days after you are alleging, you being the police, he used a white Audi in a homicide.
I don't think that was known at that time.
Is there not video at the BP?
I don't think that was collected the night of the incident.
Okay. Well, you asked him 2 days after a homicide that the police are accusing him of, what car is his? And he is not legally obligated to answer any of your questions, is he?
Correct.
And he told you, while wearing the exact same hoodie and exact same hat that he was wearing in that BP video, he told you that white Audi is mine, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't hide that fact.
No.
Besides those 3 days, was that all the work you did on this case?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, is there a redirect? All right.
On March 16th, let me back up. On March 14th, you said you responded to the homicide of Shamel Drank. Is that fair?
Yes.
Had you seen the surveillance video when you arrived on March 14th, 2022?
No.
So did you know that Mr. Stillwell was in that surveillance video when you went to the house on March 16th, 2022?
No.
For the homicide case, who was the lead detective? Do you know?
I don't even remember.
On March 16th, 2022, do you know if they had solved the homicide yet?
No.
No, you don't know, or no, they had not?
No, I don't know if they solved it or not.
You said that you arrived at 2830 Waters Road on March 16th at about 2:30 a.m. on March 16th?
Yes.
Do you know what time the homicide occurred on March 14th?
No. I know it was early morning hours that I responded to that as well.
What time did you think you responded to the homicide?
Maybe 1 a.m.
And so would that be 1 a.m. on March 15th?
Correct. Sounds about right.
So when you asked Mr. Stillwell about that vehicle, did you know at the time that he was connected to that vehicle at the gas station?
No.
Do you know if it was after he told you it was his car that they connected him to what they saw in the surveillance video at the gas station?
No. They connected the dots about 2 to 3 days later.
And that's your memory of it?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. If you saw him at 2:30 a.m. on the 16th, on March 16th in the morning, and you were arresting him on March 17th.
I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
thinking about the 14th. From the 14th.
So to be clear, on the morning of March 16th, when he's telling you about this vehicle that is his, you have not connected him to the homicide that happened on March 14th, 2020?
No.
I have no further questions.
Investigator Flores, you used a couple terms. Solved, connected the dots. Says who?
I said those words?
Yeah. You agreed with them. Who? Says who you...
Hang on.
Big says who about what?
Overruled.
Who says you solved anything?
I didn't solve anything.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you again. It's not about what dots you connected. If you do or don't do something on March 14, 2022, you would know what you did or didn't do, correct? I'm not talking about what the police know. I'm talking about what you would know.
Correct?
Okay. And Mr. Stillwell, knowing about March 14, 2022 and what he did or didn't do, never shied away from owning that Audi, did he?
Objection on speculation.
Overruled.
Didn't even hesitate. He said, that's the car that I am driving, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Thank you for your time, and you are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And I think this is our last witness of the day.